Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Myciak. Today, let's talk about slowing down. First off, why is it so important? Well, when we slow down, we can first see things around us a little clearer. We can feel our feelings a little bit more, and I know that might sound scary. And we just become more aware. So when we slow down, it helps us grow. And it helps us just learn from things better. If we're constantly, have our foot on the gas pedal and we're just racing down the road of life, we don't get to look at all the beautiful scenery. Actually, just as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about one of the drives around here on the coast where you actually, when my husband's driving, I'm like, slow down. I want to take in the view. In fact, I sometimes get him to drive just so I can look at the view. But it just is when you slow down, you get to take in that present moment, the beautiful of the moments, so much more. So you get to see things better. You get to experience things deeper. You also become more self-aware. And I say this all the time. Awareness is so important for everything. With anything in your life. Anything. You need to be aware of something to be able to change something. So when, you're just heading for the finish line, which is like, what's the finish line, right? Because life is meant to be enjoyed and, just you get to go and experience it. It's an adventure, a journey. There's, I don't like this idea of a finish line because that means it's over. So it's really just enjoying the journey. And when we become aware of things, it's easier to do things differently. So it would be like, let's go with the metaphor of driving. You're driving and you're not aware that your gas light is on or that you're running low on gas. You're not even aware that it's beeping at you or whatever it's doing. You're not aware. Or maybe that light's on, that your tire pressure's off on one, but you're not paying attention. And then that causes greater problems down the line. Maybe you run right out of gas and you're stuck and stranded. Or, the tire, just wear and tear more on one tire. You have to replace it, whatever. I'm not a mechanic. My dad is. But anyways, I went down this metaphor a little longer than I anticipated. Anyway, when you become aware of things in life, it's easier to change it. And that means even, for me, even I've had some feelings. I'm like, something came up and I'm like, oh, I'm really angry right now. Like, why am I angry? And then I unpack that. This is why journals are super important. Or whatever device you have. And it's really just figuring out, like, when you're aware that you have feelings. And then you can, once you're aware, you can be like, oh, why is that showing up right now? Like, especially if it's a feeling. Or if you're aware that something's going on in your life and it's, you just don't love it anymore. I became aware that I didn't love the city anymore because it made too much noise. And occasionally I'm reminded that I don't like noise. When a neighbor's doing something and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, okay, it's only gonna be for so long. It's okay. I'm not in the city anymore where the noise is constant. It's gonna go pretty quickly. And, things around here go to sleep very early and like, it's pretty chill. So I'm reminded occasionally like, right, this is why we moved out of the city. I became aware of what I did not like anymore. And when you become aware of what you don't like, then you can change it. It's also about when you become aware of, what's holding you back or things you need to heal, some stories that you might keep telling yourself, negative thoughts, just so many things, awareness. So like when you slow down, you get to see things. And I spent so many years not slowing down. I was on go. I was that person that was busy all the time. So when I met my husband, I was so busy to the point where I remember that we went out the day I met him after dance class. We exchanged numbers. And then he called me later on that weekend, and we were trying to set something up, but I was busy for I forget how long. Like I was full up. And the reason I even went to that dance class is because my yoga class got moved. And I'm like, oh, what am I going to do there? I was filling it up. I was filling my week up. Every weekend I'd make sure I had plans and I'd be like, go, go, go. Because like if I didn't have plans on a weekend, that meant I wasn't, popular enough. Like I had some interesting thoughts about this. Like I just felt like I had to be doing something with my weekends, my evenings, everything. And it was just full. I was very, very full. But I had no idea how I was feeling. And then down the line, like I, finally learned to slow down a little bit more. And actually that's why yoga class was helping too, was letting me help me figure out my feelings, just reflect more. It's meditating and things like that. But back then I was quite full. My schedule was full. And even though I was already on my self-love journey then, and it's already had that year of healing and really self-discovery, I was still fairly busy. Thankfully, I had yoga. Anyway, but when you slow down, then that's when you get to really self-reflect and see where you're at. Take inventory. Be like, how have I been feeling? Have I been taking care of myself in the way I need to be taken care of? Have I been taking care of myself the way I need to be taken care of? Have I been giving my body nourishing food, sleep? Have I been, handling my stress? Like it's all that self-reflection. How am I feeling? Have I been triggered lately? There's so much you can, reflect on. So slowing down really just helps so you can really see your surroundings, so you can figure out what you love and what you need more of and what you need less of. So saying no to the things that don't bring you joy and yes to the things that do. Now that to me took some time to figure out, but, and I'm still learning sometimes where I'm like, ooh, like I should do this. But then I'm like, wait a second, who's the idea of should, right? Like we can get caught up in social ideas of things. We see things in movies or TV or other people around us, and we think our lives should be like them. But the cool thing is we're all different, we're all unique, and we're all beautiful in our own ways, which means we need to do things differently sometimes. And that's what self-reflection's for. You get to really create that loving relationship with yourself more when you slow down. So what do you do? How do you do this? Because like I've already said, yoga is, oh my goodness, so good. Because it's a lot of different things. Movement, you get to it just is energy that you're flowing and connecting to your mind body. It's a mind body spirit whole connection. So practicing yoga asanas and, meditation and breathing and all that. It's also, first off, let's even take a step back first. Because, I just shared how when I met my husband, I was pretty full. So how would I even become aware in a full schedule? Well, first off, it's creating space, creating stillness in your life, right? Maybe taking a couple things out of your schedule. And what I do is I look at things in my schedule and be like, what am I doing that I don't love? And I chuckled there because I was like, I don't love housework, but I do need to do it sometimes. Anyways, but it's looking at things like, are you saying yes to things that don't fill you up? Or, there's so much, you can end up volunteering for things because you feel like you have to say yes, but maybe not volunteering for all the things because, you only have so many hours in a day and energy in a day. Now, I'm not saying no volunteer because I think there's self-care in volunteering too, where you can take care of yourself. Like there's this filling your cup up by giving to others, and it's super important. But it's just sometimes we can say yes to everything except ourselves. I know this because I did that. I was saying yes to everything. So it's sitting back and it's looking at your calendar. Be like, where can I create space? So creating space for stillness. And then it's like, well, what do you do in that stillness? And you don't even need a lot of time or space for stillness. It can be just making 5 to 10 minutes for meditation, breathing exercises. And that's why I love yoga, because you get to do all those things, in your practice. Getting out in nature, just walking. I used to do this where when I lived in the city and before I met my husband, I would go on walking, what I didn't even know at the time. It was like a walking meditation. And I'd walk around the block. I have no real route. I would just start walking in one direction and know that I was going to do some form of big circle. So sometimes I'd weave in and out of different blocks here and there. And I was living with my grandma at the time, so there's a highway there, like an expressway, highway area. So I had to go a certain way to get around it. But then I always tried to get lost. And then I have a good sense of direction, so I never did. But I would just look and be like, oh, that tree looks like, whatever it is. And I would just kind of go and just let go of the day and just be present with my surroundings. So just getting out in nature, walking, movement, any of those things, kind of just allow to be in the moment, right? Stillness. So you can just be present with that moment, or hear your inner ding, your inner being, your heart. What does your heart have to say today? Things like that. Like just, it's in the stillness where you get to really hear things. And then, like I said, with walking meditations, it also included mindfulness, right? Like, oh, that tree is there, and to me it looks like this. You can mindfully eat. I love doing that. It's a little harder to do because my two kids are usually, that's when we share about the day. And a lot of the time it's like chatter, chatter, chatter. So I don't always mindfully eat, but I do enjoy it when I do take the time to mindfully eat. But it's just going, we can constantly do things like, so brushing teeth, for me, brushing teeth, washing my face, it all happens where I'm like, did I just do that? Because I wasn't actually present. So sometimes when you're doing something you do every single day, driving, sometimes like you drive somewhere and it's like, how did I get there? We're not always present. So being mindful, doing an activity that you always do, but doing it mindfully. So it could be, like I said, brushing teeth, being very mindful of it. Or when you're stretching in the morning, like really being mindful there. Or when you're walking. And I walk with a friend all the time, and we talk a lot. It's like just a really good time to catch up and chat and just like let things go, that might be bothering us and things like that. But then there's times where I'm like, I actually just stop on the trail and I'm like, just take in my surroundings. I'm like, oh, look at that. It's like, just really be mindful for a few moments, because we can get so lost in talking and walking in the forest that we don't actually take in the beauty. So it's really just mindful too. So just being aware again, it really does come down to awareness. And then you can really start paying attention to what's coming up for you, emotions, and just, any thoughts. Like when you're more mindful, then you can really pay attention to what your thoughts are and be like, ooh, maybe that thought's not serving me anymore or not helping me any. We can really let our thoughts run the show when we don't even know that it's happening. So being mindful of your thoughts, mindful of your breathing, mindful of your body movement, whatever that means, like dancing, walking, just sitting mindfully. I love just looking out the back window of our house, and it's like the eagles, like lately, they've just been soaring right by our deck. And I'm like, but if I didn't just slow down and look out the window and become mindful of my surroundings, I would have missed that beautiful moment. And I'm always just so grateful that I took that time to slow down, because they are so beautiful, those creatures. And other things about creating space in your life, and this is so important, and it's taken me a long time to get there, and occasionally I still have hard times, is setting boundaries. So I said about saying yes to things that fill you up and no to the things that don't. And that's really, really comes in, right? It's having, and it doesn't have to be like, I need to set this boundary with you. It's not having this conversation with other people, but knowing it really comes down to knowing what you need. Like really taking some time to ask yourself, what do you need? to feel full and fulfilled. And then it's like, what isn't filling me up? And then it's figuring out what personal boundaries you want to set. So I even have this with my husband where he works from home, I work from home, and I have to figure out what my boundaries are with myself so I can set them. Like, my yoga practice in the morning, walks with my friend, just in having that. And then I also have to evaluate sometimes where I'm like, okay, is this walk at this time? Do I want that? Or do I need to ask if we can move it? Because it's, is it okay with my work schedule? Like it's figuring out my own personal boundaries. And then you come back to the other people and look and be like, okay, when I'm working, I need to work and focus. Like it's having those conversations with other people in your life. Even my kids, what they know when I'm working to, that's my space, that's my time, setting the boundaries. Energy is another one. If you know somebody's draining your energy, it's not so much about setting boundaries with them, it's setting boundaries with yourself. And then you might have to set boundaries with that other person. But like I said, it's not that you don't use those words with those people, but it's having a conversation where, maybe you don't want to hang out with them every day. And he's like, hey, how about we hang out, whatever you feel like doing. Anyways, so let's get back. I got a little sidetracked, but like energy with yourself too and time. So it's knowing how much energy you put out somewhere and how much you have to give. And then, like I said, let's get back to the setting boundaries. I know I'm kind of going back and forth, ping pong. Anyways, when setting boundaries, it's really important first to check in with yourself and really get clear on what that looks like. And what I've learned is it's really important to set your own boundaries with yourself first. Because sometimes, we can have it where we don't even have boundaries with ourselves, And it's like, for me, it's like, okay, I'm watching TV in the evening, like an hour, And it's having your own personal boundaries, what you want to do for you or what you don't want to do. No screen time after a certain time or whatever it is for you. It's making like commitments to yourself. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to do that. And it's really allows you to focus on what truly matters to you. I hope that makes sense. So it's like first boundaries with yourself. And then it may be setting boundaries with other people. But like I said, my husband and I work from home. And it's really those conversations. We have to have those every so often where it's like, okay, how about we check in between this time and this time? So we're not just calling on each other all the time. Because it's very easy. And because my husband works from home, I've always also, it's like gently, lovingly reminded him, it's like, it's okay to set boundaries with us as your family for work. Like work is over there. Home is here. Like they really, as much as they blend together, it's still having boundaries. So it's really important. And with boundaries and saying yes to the things that make you happy and no to the other, no to things that don't, it actually welcomes in space to have more things that bring you joy, like activities that make you happy. So when you make time for the things that light you up, hobbies and things that make you fulfilled or make you feel fulfilled. I love reading and paddleboarding and pretty much anything out in nature. It allows you to slow down, but also you're like enjoying the moment so fully. And it helps you really connect to who you are and embrace who you are. And it really does. That's why slowing down first and just being aware, if you're feeling triggered or if you're feeling frustrated. And a lot of the time, if I'm angry, it's because I'm not either giving myself something or I need a boundary set up or something. And by slowing down, I get to figure that out. And then the more I get to know myself, the more I can do things that I love because I'm like, oh, I love this. So like I said, when I became aware of not wanting to live in the city anymore, so it's like I knew what I didn't want. And I love water, so I knew partly what I wanted. And then it's just figuring out all the rest of that and figuring out how to make those moves. So it's really just important to slow down so you get to know yourself better, really create that loving relationship with yourself. So then you get to figure out the things that do bring you joy. And then it's slowly removing things out of your schedule that don't bring you joy. And another way is like simplifying. I actually have a whole thing about simplifying. And it's simplifying your schedule though. But it's like, I have one that's simplify your life. Because sometimes we overcomplicate things or we don't ask for help. And so anyways, let's talk about schedule though. And it's just like I said, it's saying no to the things that don't bring you joy or is not as many. And because I know like for me, I have kids. So sometimes I say yes because like if I said no to everything, they wouldn't be doing anything. Anyways, but it's a balance, right? And then it's saying yes to the things that do bring you joy. So it's just taking a step back, looking at your schedule, like how full is your schedule? You know, is it packed to the brim? And it's figuring out how to eliminate some of the stuff. Maybe your to-do list is like so long that you're like, I will never get this done in my lifetime. And it's just figuring out, asking for help. And the thing is, here's the thing. I want to be completely honest. Hold on. Here's the thing. I want to share something with you because we struggle with our schedule sometimes. And I want to share with you what we do. So our kids are at that age now where they're in things. And I have these mixed feelings about this because I grew up where I had nothing planned because my parents both worked full time and they worked in the city and we were out in the country. So they had about a 45 minute drive home every day, like to and from. So once I got to the point where I could babysit my siblings, I did. And we just sat around the house and pretty much watched TV. And if the weather was nice, I could play with the neighborhood kids and stuff like that. But I'd always have to keep an eye on my siblings. And so we didn't really do anything because my parents were gone all week long. And then on weekends, you know, cleaning day was Saturday and getting things done around the house. And then Sunday was we usually did something fun. So growing up, I didn't really have anything. Occasionally, I remember being in a few little things here and there, like little pockets of time. And I know I couldn't sign up for a lot of things after school because I couldn't get a ride home. Other than once, I did floor hockey and I was able to figure out a ride system. But I didn't do a lot because it just didn't work out for our family. So going from that, I could go the other way. It's like, I want my kids in everything. But that would break me. So I want to say there's so much love because it's so easy to fill our schedules. You need to look at what you can do. And I mean you. Because I can sometimes get lost. Like, oh, am I doing enough with my kids? Am I letting them, like, are we doing enough for the kids? Or all this stuff, right? When you start hearing other parents talk. And I'm like, if I do any more, I won't be at my best. So it's checking in with yourself. So it's called balance. And because I look at some people's schedules and I'm like, if I had this schedule, I'd be burnt out by Friday and I wouldn't have anything left for the weekend. Heck, man, there's no weekend because they're still full. So it's just not me. And if that's you, that's totally cool if you feel good. Remember, it's about feeling good. Like focus on feeling good, right? I don't think I said it in this episode, but I have it on one of my books. Focus on feeling good and do all things with love. And that's what I try to do. So I focus on what I can do and not compare myself, because comparing ourselves to others, that's when we start saying yes to the things that don't fill us up, because we're looking outside of ourselves instead of inside of ourselves. Remember, awareness. Awareness is super important. How full is your cup and how empty does it go all week long? So what we do every so often is we look at our schedule and be like, okay, is this manageable? Can we maintain this pace? And is there things we can take out? Because the fun thing is too, our kids need downtime too. And I'm saying we, as in my husband and I. I'm sure other kids might too. Like, it's really looking at you and then your family as a whole. And I know for my family, it's so important to have downtime. Like, I remember my kids going, yay, it's Wednesday. It's my favorite day of the week. You want to know what that Wednesday was? Guess what was happening on Wednesday? Absolutely nothing. It was their free day where there was no running around. There was nothing to be done. We had no plans. It's whatever showed up for us that day, whatever we felt like doing. Do we feel like going to walk to the beach, going to get ice cream, going in the forest, whatever, watching a movie? It was a free day. So our kids, like my husband and I, we have to look at them too. So it's me. It's like I can't put out more energy than I have, and neither can he, right? Or else then we're showing up and we're exhausted and we're not showing up as our best selves. So I always look at our schedule and figure out like, what can we do? And I'm going to be honest, like right now it's pretty full, but it's only a month because we have a few extras with school, track and field, and a talent show, which the kids are practicing every night that are practicing every day for this talent show. So occasionally there's going to be times where our schedule is a little bit more full, but it's one of those schedules that it won't have to be maintained like that for long. So it's knowing that. So it's looking at your schedule and not looking outside of yourself, but looking inside and being aware of what you can do, not what others can do. So like I said, it really does come down to you. And everybody's different. So like I said, I've looked at I've seen other people's schedules and they might be okay with that. But I know what I personally can handle. And then there's you also have to be mindful of your comfort zone and stuff like that. Like, are you keeping yourself small or not? But anyway, we're all different. And I know that if I'm on go every single day, that I won't be able to check in with myself. And that's what I'm saying with slowing down, right? Like I need to be pretty slow. I need a lot of alone time too. So I can hear my own thoughts. I can really just be mindful what's going on with myself. And, some people might not need as much, and that's okay. But I know what I need. And that's really what's important, is figuring out what you need, what your family, your people in your life need, and go from there. What other people are doing, that doesn't matter, right? It's finding out what you need, and then how are you going to make those needs met, right? So how do you make that happen? And you can't figure this out if you're always on go. And like I said, it's just funny how I'm share about other people's schedules where I'm on go. I'm it just, but it's about slowing down. Like I said, I look at other people, it almost gives me anxiety sometimes when people explain all their schedule. And I think to my parents, I'm busy, but I'm we aren't that busy. We have a lot of a downtime because I make sure we have downtime. But I'm also not calling them because I'm down, I have downtime, right? So I might seem busy, but I have blocks of time where I'm not putting any energy out. I'm not making phone calls, or I'm not texting. My phone has focus mode where, it will be blocked off at times because I don't want to get distracted by my phone. I don't even have my phone near me half the time because I want to be present with my children. And that's what I choose to do. There's nothing wrong if you want your phone in your purse or in your pocket or right by you all the time. But I choose, or I've made that choice, to not be always connected to my phone or connected to social media and my email and everything, because it can get a little overwhelming for me. But again, it comes back to knowing what you need. It all comes back to there. I can share all the things I need, but that's not going to help you. You need to take some time, find a quiet spot or put some music on that you love and just really connect to who you are. What do you need right now? And really start doing more things that bring you joy so you can create a deeper, loving relationship with yourself. Because the more you do that brings you joy, the happier you'll be, and you'll just be in a good place to make decisions based on who you are versus what other people think you should do. And that took me a long time to get a hold of that, whereas even my wedding, when we planned it, we had family say, you should do this, or you have to do it this way. And I actually had to stop telling people what we were doing because it was stressful. I'm it's our wedding, and I didn't want to have the arguments. And I was just we're just going to do it over here. We're going to have our wedding. They'll be invited, but they don't need to know all the details. It kind of stressed people out because they didn't know the details. But the thing is like, they don't always need to know all the details, right? It's your life. So sometimes you don't have to tell everybody everything, right? So you need to do things for you. I hope that makes sense. I had to take a break in this podcast because family came home and I had to let them know I was in the middle of recording. So this is real life, people. It happens. I overwent the time that I normally work because I was feeling good and I really wanted to share this episode. So hopefully it all worked out together as I took a minute break in there to go and just say hi and let them know that I can't come out of my office right now. Because they were like, the door is locked. So I unlocked it. And I'm like, this is why the door is unlocked. Anyways, so it's life. Life is happening. And, it's not a perfect straight line. It's not even a line that goes on an angle. It could be zigzag. It could look like, a dog drew it, a kid, whatever. It's all over the place. Life is happening. It's a journey. It's an adventure. And there's no real true map to get you where you need to go because the compass, there is no map, but there is a compass and that's inside of you. So when you slow down, you get to really listen to that compass and have it guide you to where you will feel at your best. I was going to say where you need to go, but you don't need to go anywhere. But guides you to make the decisions based on who you are versus what other people told you should be doing. You'll become more aware of your surroundings, of who you are, what you need, what you don't need. And it's going to be a continuous journey. I've slowed down a lot in my life. But does that mean that I have no more figuring out to do? Heck no, I still figure lots of things out. I'll get triggered. I'll get angry. I'll, feel sad. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But that's what life's about. Something comes up, something happens, and it's slowing down enough to do a check-in, some self-reflection, some journaling if that's what feels right to you. So just try to slow down here and there for you. And if you really need to, if this is something you need to train yourself to do, put it in your schedule. Like if your schedule is pretty full and you're like, oh, Jody, I have no idea where this is going to happen. You have no idea what you'd say no to because that might be your reality right now. You might not know what to say, not know what not to say no to or what to say yes to. And your schedule's full. So I'm going to leave you with this because I know it's running late. One last thing. So if you don't know, or you're so full, schedule it in like an appointment. Make it non-negotiable. Now, I'm not saying half an hour. It could even be 5 minutes a day and just have it on your alarm and be like, slow down and take it for 5 minutes. And then maybe expand it to 10. But even just that act of every day having an alarm, if you need it, an alarm or in your calendar, whatever works best for you. Here's the thing. You need to do what's going to work for you. And so in your calendar, you can write it in. It could be even just going for a walk, a quiet, no distractions, so no phone. Okay. And when I say 5 minutes of slowing down, I don't mean put on the TV. Slow down and just be 5 minutes or 10. It can be more. But if you're full, your schedule's packed full, start with 5 minutes. Be a 5-minute walk around the block. Or, whatever, sit outside for 5 minutes. Go in the grass barefoot for 5 minutes if it's, nice weather. Whatever it is, just take it slow and do whatever you can. But like I said, no technology. Get off that phone. That is not slowing down. That is continuously going and getting distracted. So no TV, no phone, no scrolling on anything, and just be. If you need some music in the background, that's cool. But even so, you can just take 5 quiet minutes. Listen to the birds sing. Or if you're in the city, maybe it's trucks and cars, and just pay attention to your surroundings. Maybe there's a noisy neighbor. Whatever it is. Just take a few minutes here and there. And maybe over time, you'll just want a little bit more of that, and you'll expand it from 5 minutes to 10 to 15 to 20. Who knows? It's endless. The possibilities are endless. Just start small and see what happens. Thank you so, so much for being here. I am so grateful for you. And you took some time for you today. So congratulations. Thank you for slowing down. Or maybe you were listening to this while doing chores or doing something else. Hey, I've done it. I do it sometimes too. It's all good. Just remember though, to slow down so you become more aware of who you are, what you need, what you don't need, how you're feeling, what's triggering you, so you can take care of yourself, so you can show up as you, like real, truly you, in all its empowered essence. Thank you again for being here. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.